Welcome to Come Bead with Me. Today's guest is me, Linda Sortino, founder of Come Bead with Me, Bead Board Envy, and Beadmaster Envy. And today I'm going to answer a few questions that people have about my background. Question one: why did you decide to start a website? So, about 7 or 8 years ago, I was looking forward to my retirement. And I thought, what if I started a website and just have something fun I could do, while I'm retired and maybe generate a little bit of income every month? So I actually started a crafting website. It was called The Crafting Queen. And I did that for a couple of months, but everybody kept saying, you have to niche down. You have to niche down. And I didn't really understand what that meant. And then one day we had just moved to Southern Alabama and I wanted to get into gardening. We have a huge yard here. And I couldn't find anything about gardening in zone 8 where it's so hot. And finally, I found an article and it was perfect. She talked all about gardening in the heat. And I was like, wow, I finally found somebody. And I went to see the next article, and it was a recipe article. And the next article after that was how to keep your kids busy in the summertime when they're out of school. And I went to the homepage, and there was not another gardening article on the whole website. And I was so disappointed because I just felt completely let down. And that's when it hit me. That's what people are talking about when they say you have to niche down. So I decided I was going to have to pick one craft or another. And I had just started beading a year or so prior to this. And so I thought, I'm going to start a beading website. And I had bought a pattern from Deborah Birdie. And when I downloaded the pattern, I noticed that the copyright on it was like 10 years previous. And I thought, wow, she's been making money off this pattern for 10 years. That's exactly what I want to do. Just make beading patterns, put them on the website. And if I start now, in a few years when I retire, I will have something that's bubbled up with SEO and is generating a little bit of income. So I started the Come Bead with Me website. And fun fact about me, my bachelor's degree is in computer science from the 70s, and I did programming for 20 years on operating systems. So to make a website was not scary to me at all. So anyway, that's how I started Come Bead with Me. And let's see, the next question is, how did I get into the beadboard business? So my husband and I make frequent trips to Birmingham to visit our kids and grandkids. And my beading tray was this orange plastic tray with a piece of Velux on it. And my husband is very OCD, and he would freak out every time I brought this into the car with a pile of beads on it because he was so afraid the beads were going to go flying all over the car. So I decided maybe I could find a better solution. And I started looking on the internet for, what could I use for traveling with a beading project. And I saw bead boards, but I could not afford one of those at the time because they are expensive. And that was just not in my budget. But I found a YouTube video from a couple in Canada, and they showed you exactly how to make one. And I thought, well, I'm very crafty. I can figure that out. So I did. But even with a basic beading board, you still have the same issue of, beads going everywhere. And plus, I found if I ran out of beads on the tray, if I needed more thread or whatever, that I was digging around in the tote bag that I had at my feet trying to get whatever it was that I needed. So I decided that there had to be a better way to have storage right there at my fingertips with the board. So I found these plastic drawers on Amazon, and I figured out how to incorporate it into the board. And so now we have um, Bead Board Envy, who has a lid to protect the beads when you're not beading on it. And it has a built in storage compartment so that you can put all of your supplies in it. And it has changed a lot over the last 5 years. And we have learned, I say we, Paula is my part time helper. A big shout out to Paula because I don't know where I would be without her. But we have learned to simplify the process with different parts of how we make it. In the beginning, it probably took us 2 days to make a board. And now the time it takes to make, especially a board with a drawer, is limited more by the amount of time that the glue has to set up during different steps. Because we can't, when I glue the bottom on, that has to sit for a few hours before I can do anything else with it. So it's still quite a process. How have the boards changed? So in the beginning, we used, everything was done by hand. I had a miter saw that I used to cut the corners of the wood, and we cut all of the foam by hand. The bottom piece and the pieces in here. The wells were made by those little plastic, you see them at the dollar store, paint pallets. That's how we made the wells originally. And everything changed dramatically when I got the laser. So I have a laser that's a 48 by 36 inch. It's like the biggest one they make. And I was so fortunate that somebody locally here was selling it. So I got it at half price. So now everything is cut on the laser. The wood is cut, all the foam is cut. So we can now make the wells on the laser instead of with those little paint palettes. So I can customize for everybody how many rows of wells. I even do custom sizes of the wells, custom configurations. And then we added the magnets. And then for the drawer, originally we put this drawer front was a piece of wood that we put vinyl over. And one of the biggest problems with that was trying to find vinyl that matched the fabric. And I was sitting around one day thinking, golly, I wish there was just something that came in colors that I could cut, like wood that came in colors that I could cut. And I looked over at the pile of acrylic sheets that I have, and it was a holy moly, we have acrylic sheets that come in colors and I can cut them on the laser. And so that really was a big time savings with that. So just different things. Paul and I are always trying to think up some way to make production easier and the board itself better. Okay, the next question is, how did I get started with Beadmaster Envy? So I was talking to my business consultant, and he said, gee, it would be nice if you could come up with a new product. The bead boards are great, but you really need something. You've got all these bead board customers. I felt like where there was a gap was with people that want to learn to bead. Like you have all these advanced kits, you have all these intermediate kits, but kits for new people, that want to learn how to bead, there's not a lot out there for that. So I thought, well, maybe I could put something together. So I came up with Beadmaster Envy, which turned out to be just a monumental task. But I launched it last year in 2025. And once I launched it, I had to finish it because I sold it to like 50 people. And so there was like no going back from that. And it was launched as a subscription, one project a month for 10 projects. So you get 10 complete projects. You get everything you need to learn to bead, everything you need for the projects. You get the tools, you get a beading box, you get a beading mat, everything, all the beads, everything you need. So, to come up with though, these are not simple stringing beads on a wire projects. These are bead weaving projects. The written instructions were 60 to 100 pages for each project. The video instructions were 2 to 3, 4 hours for each project. So to come up with that every month became a monumental task and very stressful by the end of it. So I had planned to continue with subscription boxes after I finished the 10, but it was just too much to keep up with the bead boards and the beading projects. So I said, I'll just release projects on an ad hoc basis as I can get them done. But right now I'm rewriting the delivery or how you can purchase Beadmaster Envy. So it was sold as you buy the whole project, the whole 10 projects. And now I'm breaking it up into 3 different bundles, or you can buy any of the 10 projects individually. But right now I'm about to release the beginner bundle, which is the first 4 projects. And so you can buy those 4 in a bundle for a cheaper price than buying the 4 individually. And then there'll be the intermediate necklace bundle, which will be 3 projects. And then the advanced bundle, which is the last 2 projects, the ball and the pagoda box. So I'm working on that now to, I think that that'll be easier for people to get into instead of biting off the whole thing at one time. So that's where I am with that. What has been your biggest challenge overall? So the biggest challenge that I've had with everything is just time. I have so much that I want to do, and I just don't have the time to do it, to keep up with the boards, rewriting things on the website, and the Skool communities. So I just have to prioritize every week what gets done. And I think, though, everybody has, time is their biggest issue. There's just so much of it. But specifically, like for the bead boards, believe it or not, one of the biggest issues has been glue. You wouldn't think that glue would be such a problem, but we use different glues depending on what it is that we're gluing. So, for instance, in the beginning with just a simple thing like putting the foam on the bottom of the board, in the beginning we hand glued it with Gorilla Glue. We went around the whole edge and glued this on. And then we figured out that just using spray glue, we go through cans and cans and cans of spray glue here. We spray glue it now and then put this on, and we have to put like a piece of wood over it and weight it down, and it has to sit for 3-4 hours for that glue to really take hold on there. And then the glue for the drawers, when I switched to acrylic, we used acrylic glue to glue this acrylic onto the plastic. And the acrylic glue actually kind of melds the acrylic. It like melts it. into the plastic. And then we got a new order of drawers from China, and all of a sudden the acrylic was just popping right off of the drawer. And it's like, what the heck is going on here? I've been gluing these to the drawers for years now. Why are they suddenly falling off? And customers were emailing me back and saying the drawer front fell off my drawer. How do I glue it back on? And I'm like, holy crap, what is going on? So we started feeling the drawer, and the manufacturer had changed the composition. And the only way I can describe it is that it now felt more rubbery than plastic, and the acrylic glue was not adhering to it. So we had to find another glue to use that would work on acrylic, because not everything works with acrylic. So that was a challenge. So just trying to figure out the best glue for whatever it is that we're needing to glue has been a really big challenge with the bead boards. And then with Beadmaster Envy, believe it or not, getting beads has been the biggest challenge. So going to order delicas, what I ordered 2 months ago, I could go back to reorder it, and the certain color is on back order for 6 months. And it doesn't matter which wholesaler you go to, they're all out of it, which you don't expect that. Buying delicas from a retail point of view, usually you can get your little 7.5 gram tube. But when you're wanting to buy them wholesale, I've had to substitute delica colors halfway through a project. Half of the people got one color and the other half got another color because a delica color was no longer available. And the only problem with that is, if you've already done the pattern and you've done the videos and you've done the instructions and they say one color, and now you got to substitute a different color, most people can deal with that. But some people, they get confused easily. And then the other thing is, bicone beads are usually pretty easy to get a hold of, but round beads are not. So like, I needed a 3 millimeter round brown bead, and I had a hard time finding it. Like, you wouldn't think you would have a hard time just finding simple beads wholesale, but it's sometimes you have to adjust the design of the pattern to meet the beads that you can actually get. So that was a big surprise to me when I started doing the project boxes, was trying to find beads to match what I needed. And then let's see, we have, why do you keep doing this? So I mentioned I did the website to have something to do in my retirement. So now I'm 68, and my husband retired in May. And I keep thinking, how much longer am I going to do this? But then I get a letter from somebody or an email from somebody, and they tell me how much they love their bead board. I had a woman email me and say, and the irony is, I had woken up that day and said, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this? And I got this email, and she said, I just want to tell you how much I love my bead board. I take it with me to my husband's chemo appointments. I take it when he goes in the hospital. I take it to all of my son's baseball games so I can keep working on my projects. And I just want you to know how much I love this board. And when I get a comment or a letter from somebody who tells me how much they love their board, then it just makes it all worthwhile, and it just makes it worth it for me to get up every day and keep working at it. So I really do appreciate that. And one thing I forgot to mention about Beadmaster Envy, kind of brings me around, to the Skool community. I created that community as the delivery mechanism for Beadmaster Envy. And that's all I expected it to be. It started out with the 50 people who signed up for that subscription. And I never really expected it to be more than just, people who bought the program, going through it and doing the projects. But it really took off on its own and has created a life of its own. I think the thing is, there's not a lot of beading. It's the only, at the time, I don't know if it still is, when I started it a year and a half ago, it was the only beading community on Skool. And the people on there are so nice and so wonderful and so supportive of each other. I'm just so proud of all of them. And I'm so happy with how the community has grown. It's over 1,200 people now, which that's like mind boggling. It just blows me away. But I'm so thankful and so blessed with the people that are on there and how they support each other and come together, and they're just great. And it just blows me away how wonderful it is. So the last question. What is the biggest piece of advice you would give for somebody who is wanting to start a business? And my biggest piece of advice is, write this down. Done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. You will never get it perfect. Just get something done, get something out there, and then you can refine it, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to keep refining it, just like I did with this bead board. I mean, I'm embarrassed to show you what this one looks like, okay, from one of the very first ones that I did. It's embarrassing, but you know what? That's how I learned. That's how I knew I had to make it better. And you just get it out there and you get feedback. And I see so many people who just, will spend hours and hours and hours on a website changing the fonts and the colors nobody cares what color your website is. They really don't. Just get something done and get that feedback, and then you'll make it better, because even a perfect website today, I guarantee you 6 months from now, a year from now, you'll be changing it. So anyway, put that on a coffee mug. Done is better than perfect. And that's all the questions that I had. I appreciate you listening in today on this interview. I hope you found something useful out of it, and join us next time and come bead with me.